us more than ever now. Can't you see that? What would he do without a friend like you? Try not to be so quick to accuse him, Judas. The weight he bears would crush all other men. There's something sad and very wrong, I can feel it. So think before you hurt him so again.
Welcome to the online memorial service of Don Welch. I am Susan Boyer, Senior Pastor of the Laverne Church of the Brethren, the church that Don called his church home for the vast majority of his life. Annie Dillard, American author and poet, said, "How you spend your days is how you spend your life." We have gathered together in this virtual service to hear and honor how Don Welch spent his days, and therefore how he spent his life. He was a man who needed purpose in life, and he spent his days in purposeful living. It is our privilege and our obligation to remember the life and love of this good man and the difference he made in our lives. This service began today with Bobby, Don's wife, singing. One of the things that brought Don great joy was listening to her sing. The song "Try Not to Be So Hard" was from St. Judas Passion by Steve Engel. Bobby played the role of Mary Magdalene, and this musical was a big part of Don and Bobby's family for many, many years. In the last days of Don's life, when he could hear, but no longer could he speak very clearly, his family played him this album, and it brought Don great comfort. You will hear from members of Don's family. He has 5 children, 13 grandchildren, and 18 great-grandchildren. Not all of them will speak, but several of them will represent this large and loving family. 2 of his daughters, Diane and Donna, will sing the song "In the Sweet By and By," which Bobby sang to Don as he was dying. You will see a video montage filled with photos of Don's life. The music underneath is "Holy World," written by Shawn Kirchner of this congregation. Don's obituary is available in the notes below this YouTube video so that you can read more about his life. Now let us enter into this time together expectantly, and may sacred memories of Don surround you. May you rest on the very lap of God's love. Here is my prayer on this day of remembering. O gracious God, surround Don's family and friends with your peace. May laughter surprise them as they remember and share stories of Don's sense of humor. May tears flow unashamedly as they express their gratitude for his presence in their lives. And may they receive your comfort as they navigate the hole his absence leaves behind. In the name of the one who is making all things new, we pray. Amen.
There's a land that is fairer than day, and by faith we can see it afar, for the Father waits over the way to prepare us a dwelling place there in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore. we shall sing on that beautiful shore the melodious songs of the blessed, and our spirits shall sorrow no more. Not a sigh for the blessings to rest in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore in the sweet by and by. We shall meet on that beautiful shore.
Hi everyone, I'm Deb, also known as Debbie to many of you. I'm Don's eldest child, and I want to thank you for taking time to honor my father and to celebrate his very full, rich life. Playful and adventurous. Now that's my dad. Everything was a game that would frequently turn into an adventure, from scrambling under pine trees with a box to catch the pine cone bombs the squirrels were dropping, to coaxing his 2 young daughters to swim out to him as he sat on a rock in the middle of a bitterly cold mountain stream. My mother saying no, my dad saying yes. Brr, it was cold. We loved it. He continued this playfulness with his grandchildren, snorkeling in their Tucson pool to search for sunken treasure, or getting up at the crack of dawn to bicycle out in the desert in the middle of the summer heat, losing the trail, running out of water, but finally making it back. There was always a bit of danger mixed in with the fun. A simple walk to look at the multitude of beautiful plants wherever he lived turned into a mini botany lesson as he named each one. Was not an unusual thing to do with him. There was always something to learn, to appreciate, to grow from on these outings. That sense of adventure has stayed with me my entire life. My partner Grant, though only knowing him later in life, still saw the specialness he exuded. Grant writes, in honor to be included, his remembrances of my dad. I met Donald Welch 8 years ago when I started dating Deborah, his oldest daughter. He was suitably wary of me to start, since I was the first man he had seen his daughter with since his son-in-law had passed away some 3 years earlier. But that hesitation quickly faded away, as we seemed to have so much in common. He enjoyed tinkering around the house, both inside and out. He enjoyed showing me his workshop, his garden, and his plans for the future of both. He was friends with all the neighbors, and they all clearly liked him. He was tall and strong and athletic, and knew how to handle himself. We all know about his quick wit and his intelligence. One thing I really appreciated him was his willingness to continue to learn new things. While sometimes the computer and cell phone were frustrating to him, he didn't let it get him down and wanted to know what he had done so that he wouldn't make that same mistake again. For at the time he lived in Tucson, he had become a University of Arizona fan, especially of their basketball and football teams. Well, I went to the University of Oregon, and the two schools had quite the rivalry in both sports. So Don and I had a sandy bet of $1 on the outcome of all the games between our two schools. If you lost, you had better have your dollar ready the next time you saw the other guy. It was great fun, and we often talked on the phone right after the games to give each other a hard time. He hated when his Wildcats lost to my Ducks, but I think he enjoyed our banter more than anything. I know I did. So thank you, Don, for everything. Your strength, your friendship, your laugh, and your willingness to let me be part of the family. I admired you in so many ways, and I will miss you in so many more. Dad was always ready to share his time and energy with whoever was around, and to seek out others to join him. He was not shy to join others in their adventures as well. He loved doing things that challenged him. From hiking, biking, education, his multiple careers, he always tried and succeeded in doing his best. He put everything into it and did it with an incomparable wit, humor, and love. With his innate welcoming spirit, he was one of those people in life that would draw people to him. I will always remember as a young girl, one Sunday at church, watching him from a distance as he engaged and enjoyed the company of those around him. I was awed and proud and wanted to be just like him. Thank you, Dad. You were loved and missed.
Hey there, I am Jason Graham, one of Donald Welch's many grandchildren. Grandpa was the kind of person that anyone could enjoy spending time with. He always seemed to have a clever remark or a witty response for just about any situation and always seemed to pull them out of thin air. It's that quality in him that taught me to always look for the silver linings in life, no matter how dire the situation may be. He also taught me that there's always time for family through his actions, because despite having an exponentially growing family tree, he would always make time for all of us, and nothing made him more proud than attending an event with his sons, daughters, or grandchildren. Grandpa was a person with compassion in his eyes and sincerity in his smile. If you spent even just 1 minute with him, you knew that he truly cared. I think that one of my best memories with Grandpa was that any time I would stay at his house as a young boy, I would beg him every morning to get donuts, and he would always oblige with a stipulation that we would have to walk for it. So we would walk from his house in Laverne to downtown Laverne to his favorite donut shop, which coincidentally became my favorite donut shop. And I feel like in those memories, you know, the donuts take a backseat to the amazing conversation we've had, the laughs and smiles that we've shared, and just the time that we got to spend together. Anytime that I see downtown Laverne, I can't help but reminisce on, you know, just how much time that we spent walking together and just enjoying each other's time. And it's a memory that I will always treasure, and I wouldn't have it any other way.
Hi all, my name is Jillian, or Jillian as my grandpa would call me. Today I have the privilege of sharing some special memories I have of my amazing grandfather. There are so many fond memories that come to mind when thinking of him. Pancake breakfasts with real maple syrup, which he would insist on pouring himself. Smart man. Long bike rides and nature walks. Lots of puzzles, Sudoku puzzles. I consider myself very lucky to have spent so much time with him growing up. I remember him having so much patience with us, with my cousins and I. And there were a number of times he would take us to this amusement park, Pharaoh's Kingdom, and be there for practically a whole day because we never wanted to leave. He was so generous with his time and energy with us. I felt nothing but love and consideration. He was always so warm and fun to be around. I always felt welcome. He will always be the world's greatest grandfather. I will keep all the wonderful memories and lessons close to my heart and as a guide if ever I'm at a crossroad. I won't ever forget the sound of your voice or expression on your face when you're pulling your pranks. Thanks for being so great, Gramps. I love you.
Hi, my name is Jessica Foffel. I am the granddaughter of Don and Bobby. My dad is Dennis. I was able to speak with my family, and they were giving me things they remembered doing with Grandpa and things they're going to miss. I'm going to start with my dad. He told me of a story of when he was a teenager, my grandpa really supported him in his hobbies. When it was electronics, he was there supporting him, and when he wanted to do the Tour de France, he didn't get upset when my dad would go on long bike rides and not tell him where he was at. Something he's going to miss is having the opportunity to sit down and just talk with my grandpa about all sorts of topics, even the ones they didn't get along with. And there was never any animosity. Next, I'm going to talk about what my mom, Dorothy, mentioned. Her and my dad had been divorced for over 30 years, but she was still a part of the family. She went to functions, and so I asked her, oh my God. Okay, next is my mom, Dorothy. Her and my dad haven't been married for over 30 years, but she was still part of the family, and she would go to functions. She said, 40 years of memories, it's hard to pick just one. My father, Outlaw Don, was so smart, kind, funny, supportive, and inspirational. She always felt welcome and safe. He never wasted a minute of life. I wish I learned that. I love you and will miss you forever. Up next is my brother Charles. He shared with that when he thinks of Grandpa, he thinks back to our summers in Tucson, where Grandpa would always wake up early in the morning before the sun even came up so he can get the pool ready for us for that day. He was an awesome grandpa, and that is definitely true. Next is my brother Michael. He shared a story of one time when it was monsoon season. We all got into their Jeep and we went storm chasing. Well, at one point, a bolt of lightning struck down a little too close to our Jeep, and Grandpa immediately stopped, flipped a U-turn, and he said, nope, that was too close, we're going back home. That was Grandpa. He really loved adventure, and it was so awesome. The monsoons were awesome, so it was really fun to go storm chase. Next up is my sister Christina. She shared how Grandpa was always so welcoming, and she shared a story of his 90th birthday is when he gave us some awesome advice. He said, whatever you are or whatever you're going to be good at it. Be good at what you do. And she remembers how Grandpa always would encourage her and tell her that she was a good mom, and it made her feel good, and she hopes she's making him proud. And another story she shared is the family always made her feel welcome. Even though she wasn't born a Welch, she was a Welch. The family welcomed her from day one. And she just felt really appreciative of that. And obviously so do I. Blood doesn't mean everything. It doesn't. It's my turn. When I think of Grandpa, I think of smelling fresh bread in the mornings. I remember hearing him up at 2 or 3 in the morning reading the newspaper. And one time I asked him, why are you up so early? And he told me he was waiting for Greenwich to call him to verify that they had the right time. He was a funny guy, and I really will miss that about him. He was always there for me, whether it was from when I got stung by a scorpion or when he had to grab pliers and remove jumping cholla from my leg. He always made us laugh. And Grandpa, I want to say thank you for loving not only me, not only my siblings and my parents, but also all of our kids and our spouses. You always made them feel like part of the family from day one, and we're gonna miss you. So now you're home again, jiggity jig jig.
I'm Donna, the youngest child of Don and Bobby, and this is my husband Jeff and our kids Digby and Ethan. And we want to talk about what we loved and admired so much about my dad and their grandfather. I really obviously loved my dad, but I liked him too. And one of the reasons for that admiration was because of the kind of husband he was. I believe that there was nothing that he wouldn't or didn't want to do for my mom. And she believed that there was nothing he couldn't do. So it was a family gathering, and there was this pesky fly buzzing around. And Grandma says, "Dawn, take care of that fly." And before we could all look at her and go, "Oh, come on, Bobby," he had snatched that fly out of thin air, shook it up to disorient it, and let it go away from the family. We looked at Mom and she said, "I knew he could do it."
First time I met Don, I actually met Don and Bobby separately, and I met Don first, and it was when they were living in Tucson, but he was out in Southern California, I'm sure just to see family, and I had heard about how active he was and a little bit of his sort of ornery competitive spirit, and he met Donna and I at her apartment at the time, and we saw him pull up, and he got out of his car, and between us and him was like a 3-foot hedge, and he looked and kind of sized it up and decided whether he was going to walk around the hedge or not, and then he saw us, and then all of a sudden he came into a run and he galloped over the hedge, and in mid-stride he put out his hand to me and said, "Hey, John Welch."
What a dude.
What a dude.
I always just remember my grandpa's love of sports, and especially Arizona, which is why I've worn this shirt today. And it didn't matter what level it was playing at, whether it was Arizona or just watching his grandsons play soccer. He was always there and always supporting us, sometimes a little bit too much. But it doesn't matter. He was doing it because he loved us, and I love him too. It was fantastic.
Yes, if he saw us not playing and not starting, he would yell at the coach to put us in the game. But I think it's obviously his love extended more than sports. I remember he'd host us, we'd sleep over at his house, and 100% of the time we'd have pancakes for breakfast and Papa John's for dinner.
That's a great
and
one.
And you could count on that.
I guess one of the things that we think about with my dad are we call them Donnerisms, things that he said to us that stick in our mind, just his silliness, his play with words. Like, what was the one you remembered?
Shake a tower.
Right. Whenever he was going to take a shower, he would say, I'm gonna shake a tower. I also remember him always saying, "Let's make like sheep and get the flock out of here."
Oh, yes.
And when he had to go to the bathroom, he would say,
"Gotta pee and eat."
And then, of course, anytime he wanted to emphasize something good. We love you, Dad. I miss you.
Facts. Yes.
Don Welch was the youngest of 6 children, born to Otis and Esther Welch. He grew up in Riverbank, California, where his dad owned a hardware store. In high school, Don was quite the musician, playing both the clarinet and the saxophone. After high school, he enlisted in the Merchant Marines. In 1950, in Riverbank, like most other American cities at that time, young adults cruised down Main Street for entertainment. Think American Graffiti. When Don was 20, Bobby Arbisold was 17, and Don had just come home from the Merchant Marines. Bobby didn't have a car, but she was standing on the sidewalk when Don Welch and his best friend, Bunky, cruised by in Bunky's car. She liked the look of Don, and so Bobby took matters into her own hands. The next time they drove by, she simply stepped in front of the car. They had no choice but to stop, get out, and talk to her. And that's how the great love story of Don and Bobby began. Bobby's a very intelligent woman, and Don admired her strength. She's beautiful, and he admired that, of course, also. And Bobby has a lovely singing voice, and Don loved to hear her sing. Don and Bobby were married in Riverbank in 1951, right before Don left to join the Marines during the Korean War. When he got out, they moved to Laverne, and with the help of the GI Bill, he went to Laverne College, where he majored in educational psychology. While he was going to college, he worked for a local furniture store and laid carpet. Don and Bobby raised 5 children in Laverne: Deborah, Diane, Dennis, Paul, and Donna. They raised their family on Elmcrest here in Laverne, and the church was a big part of their lives. Don started his educational career as an elementary school teacher in the Azusa Unified School District. He went on to get a master's in counseling and school psychology, and then a doctorate in educational administration. During his career, he served as a consulting psychologist and coordinator of special education. And he created a program for special education students that was so successful that it was moved to the Los Angeles County Office of Education, and Don became the principal. In 1985, he and Bobby moved to Arizona, where Don became the director of the Arizona Diagnostic Testing and Education Center for the Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind. Don was an excellent administrator and leader because he understood the importance of collaboration. The people he worked with were included and therefore invested in the work they did together. He's also an excellent grant writer, which is a real bonus skill for an administrator. After retiring, Don and Bobby moved back to Laverne. If you knew Don, you knew he couldn't be still. Don always needed purpose and activity in his life. He started his 3rd career working for the Los Angeles County Fair every fall as a supervisor in guest relations. In his retirement, Don was helping manage issues in the fun zone in one of the largest county fairs in the United States. He also supervised students at the University of Laverne who were headed for a career in education. The rest of the time, he rode his bike, hiked, backpacked, walked with his neighbor Karen Cahill, read, cherished his friendships. He went to the San Dimas Senior Center to play cribbage. He became the chair of the Stewardship and Finance Commission here at the Laverne Church of the Brethren, and then our board chair. I have such good memories of working with Don during his leadership roles at this church. I remember one time when we were working together on a project. After about an hour of sitting at the board table, we had papers spread all over, and it became quite clear that it was going to take us hours. Don said, "If you have time, I have time." We worked together for 5 hours that day. We even had to send out for lunch. And the constant in the time I worked with Don was his sense of humor, his patience, his tenacity, and his warmth. Don was a good father and an excellent grandfather. He's proud of his children and grandchildren to the point of embarrassment. One of the things that attracted Bobby to Don in the first place, besides his devilish good looks, of course, was that she knew he would be a great father. He always played with his children, and he loved to attend the events of his grandchildren. He was funny and silly and always had a quip ready. Don was patient and non-judgmental. It was important to him to be a good provider and a good protector. That strong need to provide and care for others was so ingrained in him that even when Parkinson's left him very fragile, his aged cat Louie would jump up onto the tray of Don's walker. It was Louie's way of communicating to Don that Louie needed to go somewhere. Louie would look in the direction he wanted to go, his bowl of food or his cat box, and Don would get up and use the walker to get Louie to wherever the cat needed to go in their apartment at Hillcrest. Even in the midst of all of those amazing attributes that made him who he was, Don worried that he hadn't done enough for others. Don's last move was to Woods Health Services, a skilled nursing center here in the city of Laverne. Bobby and Don were miserable, separated from each other. So Bobby moved into Woods, and their beds were pushed right up next to each other. This was a couple who loved to cuddle their whole married life. Don knew he was dying, and what he wanted most was for Bobby, the woman who stepped out in front of Bunky's car, to hold his hand. Even as he was dying, Don protected his family from the pain that he was experiencing. As his children tried to make him more comfortable, Don said, "My body is doing exactly what it's supposed to do." In April of this year, surrounded by family, with his beloved Bobby holding his hand and singing to him the song "In the Sweet By and By," he breathed his last breath. Don and Bobby had been married for 70 years. Ralph Waldo Emerson, poet and abolitionist, once said, "The purpose of life is to be useful, to be honorable, to be compassionate, to have it make some difference that you have lived and lived well." Don Welch was a man who had purpose in life, and his purpose was to be useful, honorable, collaborative, loving, patient, ethical, and so very humble. I didn't know of all of his accomplishments because he never tooted his own horn. He just kept serving and smiling and loving and providing and protecting and making a difference. When asked what scripture Don wanted read at his service, he said, Revelation 21. "See, the home of God is among mortals. God will dwell with them. They will be God's people, and God will be with them. God will wipe every tear from their eyes. Death will be no more. Mourning and crying and pain will be no more, for the first things have passed away." And the one who was seated on the throne said, "See, I am making all things new." Don assured those around him that he was not afraid of death. He knew it was coming. He didn't go kicking and screaming. He went the same way he lived his life, loving those around him and teaching us how to do hard and important stuff with grace and honor. And Bobby sent him out with that voice he loved so much. "In the sweet by and by, we shall meet on that beautiful shore. We shall sing on that beautiful shore the melodious songs of the blessed, and our spirits shall sorrow no more. Amen." Otis and Esther Welch welcomed baby Don to their family in June 1930 in Waterford, California. As the youngest of 6 children, he grew up in nearby Riverbank. Don was an athlete and loved being active. He was also quite the musician in school and loved playing his clarinet or sax in the band and jazz band. After graduating from Oakdale High School, he joined the Merchant Marines, then enlisted in the Marine Corps during the Korean War. Before leaving for his enlistment in January of 1951, he married his sweetheart Barbara, known as Bobby, at the Riverbank Methodist Church. After his military service was completed, he attended Laverne College on the GI Bill. It was in Laverne that Don and Bobby grew their family, adding first a daughter, then a second daughter, a son, then a second son, and one more daughter to complete their family. Don began his career in education with Azusa Unified School District. He continued his own education, earning several advanced degrees, ultimately a doctorate in education administration from Brigham Young University. In 1985, Don's expertise as an administrator was sought by the Arizona School for the Deaf and Blind in Tucson, Arizona. Always ready for a new challenge, he accepted. Leaving California, Don and Bobby created a wonderful home in the foothills of Tucson that was a joy for friends and family to visit, and visit often they did. After Don's retirement in Arizona, they moved back to California, eventually settling again in Laverne to be closer to family and friends. Always looking for ways to stay involved and active, Don enjoyed backpacking, riding his bike, exercising, fishing, and walking the Bonita High School track with exercise buddies. He took on many roles and responsibilities at the Laverne Church of the Brethren, including board chair and peace camp helper. Don loved his community, also serving as a volunteer for the Los Angeles County Fair and guest services. His life calling was to truly enjoy others, find ways to serve, and help people be the best they could be. He will be remembered by this large extended family and longtime friends as the man who was quick-witted, always friendly, and with a smile on his face. He enjoyed people, and his warmth drew people to him. Don will be greatly missed by his wife, 5 children, 13 grandchildren, and 18 great-grandchildren, who all carry with them the memories of this kind, funny, generous, and loving husband, father, and grandfather.
sorrows are turning with joy.
We shall meet on that beautiful shore. We shall sing on that beautiful shore the melodious songs of the blessed, and our sorrow will turn with joy. Amen.